up is someone who is very well dressed tonight also, and who helps make incredible chalk art, and is a very great person in our community and a wonderful friend. It's Nora McCloy.
Yes.
I agree. So do I.
Well, I don't, Dawson. So fair warning, this piece I'm going to read is very gory. It's a horror piece. If you don't like horror, you might want to skedaddle. So this piece is called Night Bloomer. Yeah, Sean's read it. Night blooming cereus is a type of cactus, and in my family, we have a cactus. We have my great-grandfather's night blooming cereus, and the day before he died, it exploded into blooms, and then the day after my great-grandmother died, it also bloomed again. And so it bloomed about 2 years ago, and no one died, thank God. But we were all terrified. We're not superstitious, but no one messes with that. So it's a symbol of death and love in our family. In the moonlight, a coyote howled. The saguaros hissed and hooted as the creatures within stirred and sang with the night. Lean trees hung heavy with the weight of owls and bats searching for their prey. Against them all, footsteps crunched through the dusty ground. A little girl traipsed through the desert. The low-lying brush scraped her shins and startled snakes, which hissed and rattled before slithering away into the darkness. Red dust filled the bloodied cracks of her swollen, bare feet. Long ago, she might have worn a pretty frock, the same yellow as the fat moon rising in the sky, but now only soiled rags hung from her bony shoulders. And those shoulders, how blistered, how burned they were. The sun had done most of this work, and the rifle strapped across her back the rest. It was much too big for a girl her size, but then again, so was the vast expanse of the desert. She'd carried it for so long that she'd forgotten what it was like not to feel its uneven weight, its barrel digging into her ribs as she walked, its silver-lined stalk burning into her skin. It rubbed against her reassuringly as she pushed a thorny branch out of her way. A screeching sound jolted her, panic sparking like firecrackers through her thin body. She swung the gun around, switching off the safety with trembling hands. The screeching grew louder and frantic. She grabbed the bolt handle and yanked, but her little fingers slipped and she almost dropped the gun. Finally, she bent over, lodged the butt of the rifle against her hip, and pulled with all her might. The action opened, and she shoved the bullet in and slammed the bolt back. She straightened and hoisted the rifle up. The desert stretched flat and unbroken for miles, empty except for the tangles of brush and cacti. But the cries pierced the air in every direction. The girl's breath rattled in her ribcage as she whirled around and around in search. Finally, her eyes fell on the ground beneath her feet. A little black bird lay there, writhing and squawking in the dust. Its wing was bloody and torn. It must have flown into the bracken and caught on the thorns. For a very long time, the girl stood in the darkness, staring at the bird. Suddenly, another coyote howled, and she snapped her head up. She looked left, right, behind. Then she flicked on the safety, swung the rifle around, and knelt to the ground. The girl took the bird in her little hands, cupping it gently. The bird fell silent, paralyzed with fear. It might have been shaking. Or perhaps it was just her hands. The girl stood and looked up to the wiry tree from where it had fallen. She stood on her tiptoes and raised the bird up to it. For a moment, it did not move. The girl wobbled, stretching her arms higher. Then, slowly, it reached out a leg and grabbed onto the branch. The girl watched it climb onto the tangle of thorns and berries, then settled back on her heels. The girl and the bird stared at each other, listening to the chorus of the desert around them. At last, the bird turned away. It stretched out and grabbed a berry with its beak. The berry burst as the bird bit into it, spurting red juice that dripped down the bird's feathers. The girl watched as the bird desiccated it until nothing was left but a single black seed, which the bird spat out into the dirt. The girl's eyes followed the seed's descent. She considered it for a moment. Recognition glimmered in her eyes, not recognition of the plant, but of something more innate, something she couldn't quite understand. The bird grabbed another berry and spat out another seed. It let out a sing-song whistle and cocked its head. The girl's stomach growled. She considered the seed a moment more, then gingerly reached to grab a berry of her own. With a twist, she popped one off its stalk. Even pinched between her fingers, it was tiny. It would take the whole tree to satiate the hunger that burned within her. Even so, she raised it to her mouth. She took a deep breath and bit down. It exploded against her teeth, spraying juice across her tongue. Her eyes widened. It tasted horrible, sweet one moment, disgustingly bitter the next. But it tasted of something other than dirt and dust. She grabbed another berry and another and another. She swallowed them, seeds and all, one after the next. The bird watched in silence as she started filling her hands with berries, plucking them as fast as she could. They piled in her hands higher and higher and higher, but her fingers were too small and the berries spilled onto the dusty floor. The girl fell to her hands and knees, desperately sweeping berries and dust back into her arms. They rolled into the bushes underneath the tree, and she gave chase, reaching into the bracken. A hand burst out of the thorns, seizing her wrist. The girl screamed and stumbled backwards. Long chipped nails and rotten knuckles dug into her skin. She kicked and screamed. She pulled the hand to her mouth and bit down with all her strength. But it did not let go. The creature that the hand was attached to dragged itself out of the bracken as she struggled. Its head lolled as it crawled, a rotting mass of gray, sagging skin, eyes shriveled and dark as coal. Its jawbone had been completely obliterated, leaving its mouth hanging open. Flies spilled out of its throat as it moved, disturbed from the feast of whatever was left of the creature's rotting vocal cords. With horror, she realized that it had no chest, and its organs spilled out across the dirt. Nestled amongst what was left of its ribs was a blackened, swollen heart that swung as it crawled. Wailing, she jerked her arm once, twice, 3 times. The creature lurched with each pull, its head snapping back with a cracking sound. Finally, the girl dug her heels into the ground and yanked with all her might. With a sickening squelch, the creature's arm flew out of its socket. The momentum sent the girl crashing into the dust. She scrambled to her feet, grabbed her rifle, and fired. The sound split the night. And that's where I'll leave. Haley, you're up.
I'm reading my short story that I got published to Writer's Digest a while ago. The Forsaken Oasis. The wasteland stretched past the horizon as a mournful silence rang across the land. A cascade of soft hues blanketed the empty terrain. Sunbeams illuminated the planet, and hope seeped into the dirt in search of life. No matter how often I see it, it always reminds me of candy, Mary said, stretching out her arm in a fruitful attempt to grasp the colorful arrays that swirled together like a lollipop. Don't get too attached, Mary, Dad reminded her. We're here to collect our samples, then return to the sanctuary. Our orders were clear. I know. I'm just taking in the views before we get to work. You have your test tubes? With a subtle nod, Dan touched the front of his containment pod, eliciting a bright white light from the thin casing to form a screen. Screw-cap test tubes for substances A and B, Dan instructed the AI system, SUDS. In response to his commands, a blue streak of light emanated into the containment pod, vertically scanning a small area of space. The fabrication system constructed labeled screw-capped test tubes from thin air, molding molecules into glass fragments and then complete test tubes. The vials you requested, Mr. Zanfield, Suds reported with a feminine voice, its sound waves fluctuating on the screen. Let's spread out from the others by 200 feet, then retrieve our samples. I'll collect samples A and B, and I'll collect samples C and D, Mary remarked with a gentle smile. The containment pods hovered above the ground, producing a slight buzz as they safely transported Mary and Dan across the terrain. Gradually, the vivid colors in the sky faded and morphed into a subtle blue as the sun shone in full view above the horizon. Kneeling inside his containment pod, Dan excavated the rock and dust formations into his vials. The pod remained airtight against the noxious environment as it stretched into the dirt. It must have been a wondrous planet to live on, Mary expressed as she retrieved her samples from the ground. It was at first, an oasis hidden away within millions of galaxies. But when the temperature rose to fatal levels, becoming uninhabitable, the last ones fled to the atmosphere, outer reaches, creating a sanctuary. You know, I despise the last ones. I'll never understand how they let our planet become this. Mary paused, gazing across the forsaken wilderness. You know the history. They were so engrossed fighting amongst themselves that they couldn't make peace and restore the planet's stability. Mary lifted the filled containers into the pod after he spoke and directed the AI. Suds run a comparative analysis between these 2 vials and those on record, along with a full chemical diagnosis. Once more, a thin blue light appeared to scan the tubes. The fabrication system broke down the molecules, disintegrating them as easily as they had formed, till only sterilized oxygen remained. When the blue light retreated, SUDS listed the acquired data. pH 5.8, absorbed carbon high, chemical equilibrium low, and further results. Must have been an ocean, Mary concluded, her gaze sweeping across the area in newfound wonder. The ocean spread out for miles with thousands of bacteria nestled within the topography and scarce traces of eukaryotic life. It's healing. pH rose again, only by 0.1 though, not enough to produce life. It's something. Yeah, I suppose it is. We've waited thousands of years. We can wait a couple more. What was the planet called again, before the reckoning? Earth. A pity, too. The Homo sapiens, the very creation and downfall of our former planet. Mary nodded consensus. Let's go back to the sanctuary. We'll record our conclusions, run the necessary tests, and then back to cryosleep, Dan finished with a heavy sigh. Same old, perhaps. But maybe next time, hope will return to Earth. Up next, we have Sean Reardon. He survived journalism, media effects with me, and also marching band, like a champ.
Hey guys, so first and foremost, I just want to apologize for coming in and out multiple times. And I also want to clear the air real quick. This is simultaneous. I don't have shit prepared for you all. I don't have a poem or a short story to read to you guys, and I feel a little ashamed that I couldn't listen to everyone's. But thank you very much to Dawson for indirectly peer pressuring me into doing this. Yeah, I love you. Anyway, but I've been doing a lot of reflecting recently, and I feel like that's what we all do when things come to an end. And I was thinking back to about 3 weeks ago when I had just finished up studying until past midnight, and I came down to the 4th floor to go to bed. And Gabe also, I think, just came out of the stairwell. Give me something, man. Probably. Okay, Gabe was probably just coming out of the stairwell, and he was in front of his door, and I come out of the stairwell, and I look to my left, and Gabe's right there. And Gabe, I have my headphones on. Gabe comes up to me a little bit and goes, "Sean, how was your day?" That's it. Something extraordinarily kind, graceful, but completely unnecessary. And that got me thinking, when I'm reminiscing on this one moment with you, Gabe, about, sorry, I didn't mean to make that sound like a threat.
Okay, Sean.
Okay, sorry. Anyway, but that got me thinking more to these other small, kind, insignificant things happening over the last 8 months. Andrew, what's up?
The ceiling.
Every fucking day. Every day. I'm told that what is in fact up is the ceiling. Every single day. Nora, who I never see without a smile on her fucking face. David, who nods at me in front of Catlett Hall every day on Tuesdays and Thursdays at like, what, 10:50? I see your ass walking out, you see me, you're like, you reciprocate, it's great. Ben, when you first moved in, you were like, "Hi, Sean, I didn't know who the hell you were, but you know, hi." What's up, man? How's it hanging, man?
Okay, how are you?
There were like 2 times, Haley, we sat in different spots in media effects every day, but it was usually the same aisle. Two times, I think, throughout the whole semester where we just happened to look down at the aisle and see each other. That was it. Claire, Louise isn't here, shit. Maya, Aiden, creative writing, semester 1. How about that shit? You remember that? Thomas Pate, who is not here, luckily. I had a workshop with him on Tuesday in journalism. Good God. Fletcher, you walk fast as fuck, man. You walk fast as fuck. My sweet candidate. My sweet Kim. And Riley, who likes to defend.
I put up with this.
You do?
I don't, but I have to. I'm forced to because you keep doing it. And you, no, not you. You.
For context here, Cameron is at the center of a major, like, homosexual reckoning. The straight men in the Writers LLC. Aren't you, Cameron?
Aren't you? Sure.
Dawson's there too, Andrew's there. Who else? Jeffrey, are you in there?
I'm in there.
Yeah. Jordan. We're gonna have a lot of fun in Solar System next year.
You're taking it?
Yeah,
Yes.
I told you that.
You said you might not.
No, the lab.
Oh.
Yeah, I have it on Wednesdays. Yes. Ollie, I don't know a whole lot about you, but you're smiling all the fucking time. Nate, I read some of your stuff in some of the lit mags. That shit was fire. Ella,
Hi.
how's it going? Jeffrey treating you right, man?
Close to
Oh, okay.
He's laughing.
Wrap it up.
Dawson,
Good.
I love you.
I love you too.
Natalie, you again. Is there anyone I missed? Sam, happy belated birthday. David, I love you, man. He's in there too with Cameron. No Ashlyn, writing about fucking galaxies and the stars and atoms and shit. That was really fucking good.
It was really good.
If she has not shared that poem with you, ask for it right now. Shake her down after this shit and ask for it, because that was really damn good.
Oh. Thanks.
Those were all my small, insignificant kindnesses. And I thank all of you motherfuckers for providing that shit throughout the entire year. Because you don't get this on other floors. You get clicks and shit. You know what the fuck I'm talking about. I don't even have to mention it. But thank you all for being awesome. And even though I don't spend, even though I don't spend a lot of time in the lounge, if I had, wait, what was it? A wishing rod? Is that what it was? If I had a wishing wand, I want to use next year to put all of us back in the Writers LLC so we could do it all again.
Season 3, baby!
Okay, up next we have a proud owner of a bulldog, right?
Yes.
All right. As I said earlier, never see them without a smile on their face. Ollie Neighbor.
Hi, friends. Okay. Hi, David. Okay. So, before I came to the University of Iowa, I thought I very much disliked poetry. I found that to be the complete opposite this year. From reading all of your work, from having workshops and that kind of thing, it's something that I really love, kind of more than, well, not even other kinds of writing, just I really enjoy it a lot. So I'm going to read to you the first piece of poetry that I wrote at college, and the first piece of poetry that I ever wrote that I actually enjoyed the process of writing. And this is my muse. This is Chuck. He's my baby. And the poem that I'm going to read to you is called 10 Things I Noticed While Watching My Fat, Ugly Bulldog Take a Nap. So, said bulldog behind, just for reference so you can, imagine it. Okay. And this is a collection of haikus that I wrote. 1. Mounds of snoozing flesh melt into the shag carpet, melding with the floor. 2. Fat rolls carve rivers, wrinkly rivulets and rills running down his face. 3. Crusted over eyes, from pre-naps, naps, post-naps, performing each rest. 4. Jowls dangle, draping his face with cheek-to-cheek joy, smiling in slumber. 5. A lonely dribble swings, pendulates, swings, descends, threatening touchdown. 6. All the while, he snores, rhythmically, consistently, rumbling and grumbling. 7. A bump on a log, or even worse, a bump on a log. 8. Where did we go wrong to turn wolves into such abominations? 9. He may be perverse. 10. Man, I adore him. But the next person that I have the proud privilege to introduce is the man, the myth, the legend himself, that can be spotted from a mile away. The one, the only. The one and the only, Andrew Hawk.
The best thing that came out of our relationship.
What's up, y'all? So, I'm gonna be honest. Oh, yeah. So, I'll be honest, when Jared initially told me about this, I really didn't think I was gonna be able to do anything. Because, I've written a lot of short stories throughout the year, but as most of you that have read them know, they are anything but short. They are very long and convoluted, and most of them, as I've been told, do not end well. And additionally, I thought, well, maybe, okay, I could do one of my scripts, but those also aren't exactly short, and as I've noticed this year quite painfully, a lot of my scripts are about sports, and a lot of people seem to think that writers and sports are a mutually exclusive thing, somehow. I don't know, I didn't think that when I came.
Go sports.
But, absolutely, I love you, Sean. But then Jared gave me the great idea of using my Modes Final, my short film that I made with a couple of y'all here in the LLC as my presentation. And I thought, you know what, that just makes quite a bit of sense and will not take nearly as long. So here's the thing I made.
How about you tell us a little about yourself?
The name's Ding Jurin. I'm a retired bounty hunter. Right now, it's just me and my son Grogu, and we're living out of this little planet called Iowa.
Why Iowa?
Well, nothing really happens in Iowa, so I can't imagine any folks from the Empire snooping around and finding me.
Mr. Jarin, the Galactic Empire's been dead for half a decade.
Oh, not that Empire. I meant Disney. It's a pretty good routine. Every day we wake up, we eat some breakfast. I try to only put on stuff with excellent role models. Sometimes we even have friends over.
Mando, can you check your kid, man?
Is there anyone currently acting as Grogu's mother figure, Mr. Jarin?
Well, I've been on a date or two over the past couple of weeks.
So,
This is the way.
like, all of them?
Yep, all the time.
When,
Overall, I think my dates seem to like me. Things are going pretty well. The best part about retirement has to be the time I've spent with Grogu. Whether it's reading to him before bed, and it's it's coarse and rough. What idiot wrote this? Report.
Man, what did I tell you about that kid, man? You don't see LeBron using green creases for half of it.
It really seems to suit me. And I couldn't imagine trading in this time for... Well, what do you know? It's my old pal John. What's up, John?
Mando, we need you on set in 5 minutes. Where are you?
Oh, John, I don't know if you've heard, but I'm retired now.
You're under contract for 2 movies and 3 more seasons. You're not retired.
Wait, they're making a movie? But I thought...
I don't make the rules. You signed the contract. Now get over here before Dave eats his cowboy hat.
If you'll excuse me.
Jeff, you still have me as John Favreau on your phone?
Yeah.
I'm glad that you liked it. No, but now I have the very distinct honor of being able to present one of the most dedicated and passionate people that you'll meet in this LLC. Someone who basically single-handedly saved me in Foundations of the English major, Natalie Thomas.
Alright, so I'm going to be reading 3 poems. Originally I was going to do a short story because I think of fiction as like my main discipline, but honestly I didn't really have, I've written a lot more poetry this semester and I was just happier with it, and I was like, we're going to do this. So they're all quite short. My first one is called Tresses. In the water, I am an anemone. Ethereal streamers flow and furl from my head. I glide through the cool blue and they trail me in delay like a dark, sleek seal. I sink and they billow around me like sea silk. I emerge and they cling to my shoulders, heavy ribbons of kelp on a limestone cliff. How is it that mere dead cells make me a naiad, an extension of the water? My second poem is called 40 Days. It's so long since I saw you. I've wandered in the desert since then, throat dust dry. Every Wednesday, I prayed for Canaan. Every Wednesday, I trekked through endless sands. I've so longed since I saw you. You watered me into greenness again, sprouts unfurling from the dead soil in my ribs. They never bloomed. You're not coming back, so it's so long, and I still look for you. And my last poem is called Yearling Darling. I walk with a deer when I walk with you. I'm a rabbit in the shadow of your tall loping stride, limbs long and fine as a young buck's. On your couch that morning, my hand was snow cradled in the nest of fingers tawny and slender as antlers. Your silhouette forms the slope of a sand dune, nose a wide cervine curve melting to your lips, from which your tongue darts when you're nervous, when you're near. But I meet your dark, vulnerable eyes, and I'm the one in the headlights, frozen in the face of a light I do not understand. Privilege to introduce, certainly, last but not least, a person whose laughter can be heard from anywhere on the planet, and my good friend Dawson Krejci.
Oh, burning! I want to say one thing. We will have one more reader after Dawson, and if anybody who did not read really wants to, let me know, and we can read after the last reader, if you want. Hi, Dawson.
Love that guy.
So I'll be reading a short story that I wrote for basically class and just other things like that. Oh, it's also called A Scholar's Notes on a Patch of Grass. It was the year 2013. I had just acquired tenure and I was visiting Tonic University in northern Colorado, where my father had gone for his own studies. It was about noon, sunny skies, no clouds. The sidewalks were at max capacity as students and parents made their way to the stadium on the east side of campus. A sea of violet and white, faces painted, jerseys of matching colors with players' numbers, small triangular flags with a bulldog mascot flapping above their heads. The town marched off downtown towards the game, past rambunctious male youths who were bar hopping across rusted pubs with lax expressions and bottles in their hands, and past the girls on Market Street who wore con shorts and sandals. I observed all from the safety of a bench. I got up and made a few passes through the fourth floor of Hopkins Library before coming out to a grass field, hauling a stack of books in my arms. The first one that I opened was a light biographical account written by Dr. Charles, my father, whose name dominated the course cover in a large Garamond font. It left a bristly texture on my fingertips. I loosened my tie. There must have been a heat wave forecasted for that day. Despite how I felt, I admired my father's writing style as he wrote about Galvin Stewart and the field that stood in front of me, both of which he gave a brilliant introduction, if I do say so myself. That bastard boy became a man that day. Where his sword met the heart of King Lorien under a murky, malicious sky is where historians, anthropologists, and archaeologists alike will find Galvin's glade. The piece was titled The Bastard King. A rather thin piece, unfortunately, as Dr. Charles would later describe the bastard's slow, agonizing death by dysentery. The book was only one in a series that my father had written on the topic of Galvin's glade. Years of his life had gone towards studying it. The library didn't have the rest in stock. He was writing his final thesis when he met an untimely end by heart attack, a blood clot in the artery, loss of blood flow, and decaying muscle tissue as his heart finally gave out. The doctor said it was either the bottle or the drunken storms that came after. Time has passed since then. He left me two things when he died. One of them was a notebook filled with unfinished notes on that field of grass. It started with notes of names and events dating back to the classical period. The penmanship, however, slowly devolved into mad scribbles, the words floating outside the established lines on the page. Some pages were imperfectly ripped out, leaving behind sharp white teeth. One page I landed on in particular simply had a dark hole scribbled in the center of the page, the ink deep and dark, as if he was about to burn a hole through it. At the corner edge of this page was a circular stand. It was dried and faded, giving off a rust-colored hue that used to be red. There was a short shot of pain across my skull. I ripped out the page and left it beside me on the bench, crumpled up into a tight ball. I then moved on to a historical textbook describing how decades after the demise of its bastard ruler, Galvin's glade would be flooded again with two opposing sides of steel and metal. Soldiers with tin helmets and loaded rifles marched against each other with mechanical giants, born from the furnaces of an industrial age, rolling out their sides with a creaking grind. Malcolm Xavier noted in it how a metallic odor fumigated the air of the field before a single drop of blood was shed. The soldiers stood in a cloud of sweat and nausea as they gazed out across the field at their opposition, a puddle of vomit for each set of boots. Surely one foot soldier, one soul out of that entire bunch had to have had the insight to notice they were standing under the same skies that witnessed King Lorien's demise, wrote Xavier. I made a note that men during such times rarely did. However, the Journal of General Hort's, an extensive and, may I say, a bit overwritten autobiographical account bound together by paperback, disagreed. Bookworms and so-called thinkers, the cows of civilization, I tell you, forever gurgling on grass, pondering its purpose, while the rest of us tend to the land, take in the mildew. And most of us thinkers would keep gorging and gnashing on those little blades of life until we choked on them, unless, that is, we found something else to snack on. If it wasn't a book, it was usually something else to help occupy or dull the mind. Me, I thought about retiring and moving out to the country, sitting on a wooden rocking chair like my father had, and taking in the mildew as the sun went down over a grass field. All those blades of grass, with their sharp edges and the dirt red soil underneath them, I simply wouldn't think about any of it. I closed the book for a moment as I heard the creaking sound of my father's rocking chair, which he sat in every morning and afternoon. He had given up on thinking and instead nursed his mind with a bottle of Johnny Walker, a couple bottles of which he had gone as a retirement gift. His voice was sharp when he shouted for you to fetch another one, his hand quick when you were slow. I forced my attention towards the grass for a moment, watching it all dance in the breeze in an attempt to associate it with all the graceful demeanor of feathers. I cleared my throat and returned back to my book. The general recounted how the wind carried the chirps of trumpets, ordering high-held flags to sway and dance, the fabric clapping to the beat of the march. That field was their stage, a canvas for their victories to be illustrated and framed. Yes, I think this was mentioned once in an essay I read, probably in the footnotes. I blew the whistle and made the call, company forward, and they advanced toward the beauty of Mother Nature, who lay there with her legs intertwined, calling to the boys on the assault line. Most of the grass never grew back, Sasha Tarek wrote in her essay, The Rape of a Sacred Deer, 1985, which I had to ask the librarian to dig out of storage where it was buried under leagues of forgotten texts. Even the patches that found the courage to go on are now deformed, sour, and misshapen. The wind has no sway on them. They stand at attention like soldiers. It's my pleasure to introduce up the best employee down in Catlett Dining Hall, Sam.
Everyone can tell I'm in full uniform. I wasn't going to read anything at first, but then I got here and I was like, oh wow. Now I kind of want to read, and I didn't think I would make it because I had to work. I had to make money. But yeah. This piece is the first thing that I wrote when I got here. Which was like half a year ago, maybe, and more than that. It's May, and yeah, it's just like a happy little thing that I managed to pump out for a class, and I am like kind of proud of it. It's called Hedgehog, which is hedgehog with a B. Yeah, Hedgehog, the littlest guy in the universe, with his pointy nose pointed skyward, high and mighty, as few would be brave enough to prey on this prickly beast, who waddles forward and strides as far as his little legs can take him. Tiny paws adorned, each digit tiny clobs. Though of many an angle, he is perfectly round. Then suddenly, hands that grab gently like hamburger, and rounder yet the little guy becomes, until he is rendered all his bristles and angles, defensive measures, moot. Round. Pink sausage digits, unadorned and unperfect, no clobs and unpub-like at all. Press forth a treat, and right where it hurts, where pride is laid open, and pointed nose pointed down, as he recedes into himself. Oh, littlest guy, you say, as you wrap your hands around durian pelt, the color of speckled egg and shell, that quiver and shiver as you cup him gently and brush your finger over his little forehead, where the prickles, the cactus signals away to soft, downy, russet snout. Littlest guy in your hands, unfurling like spring blossoms. Littlest guy, oh heart of mine, take this treat and have a great day.
Is there anybody else who would like to read? Who did not go? No, that's okay. We will then wrap up, but first we have a little recap video for you all to watch. Yes.
What?
I was gonna do it myself, but then the great Andrew Hawk stepped up and edited a fantastic video for us. So yeah, we have that to enjoy, and then we have a little like fun surprise from David and Claire. So yes, at the end. So that'll be like our fun thing. But yeah, and then also like take the food at the end. Please eat all the food as much as you can. But yeah, I want to say before the recap video, thank you all. You've made this year very lovely and very easy for me as well. I know I wasn't the best with like timeline for things or like planning events very far ahead of time, but they happened, and you all made them happen as well. I think there are great things I can say about all of you, but overall, like as a team, you all are just some of the kindest groups of people I've known ever. So I appreciate that. And yeah, I think I really enjoyed hearing all your writing today. And I hope that I see you all go on to do great things next year in the future. So yeah, thank you all.
Yay, Jerry!